Hey guys, it's MMA Vulture coming at you live with UFC Vegas 101 full card picks and betting breakdown. It's been a couple of weeks without UFC. It's been rough, but we got UFC back and I'm ready to break this card down. This is a decent card. Obviously, the main event isn't the best, but at least we got the UFC back, and we're going to go ahead and jump right into the first fight of the night in Joe Solecki versus Nurullo Aliev. And in this one, Joe Solecki is actually taking this on super short notice. It was supposed to be Yanal Ashmouz to fight Nurullo Aliev, but Joe Solecki is taking this on short notice, like I said, and I am sticking with Nurullo Aliev. I had him over Yanal Ashmouz, and I'm sticking with him against Joe Solecki. I honestly think that this is a better matchup for him, to be completely honest. I think that this is going to favor him even more than the Yanal Ashmouz fight was. And that's why I'm sticking with him to win. Nurullo Aliev is coming off of a win over Rafael Alves, where he looked phenomenal in this fight. He had a dominant performance. His striking looked good. His grappling looked phenomenal. And he also has the knockout win over Josh Wick previously before that in Contender Series. Nurullo is a very, very good fighter with very good grappling and pretty good striking, to be completely honest. He's a pressure-based wrestler. That's where he shines, is the wrestling and grappling department, as we all know. Strong takedowns. He maintains control of you and he gets you down. He makes you very, very uncomfortable, does not let you move. He's got quick transitions. He's got very, very good grappling. That's his bread and butter. But he also has good striking to back it up. He's got a stiff jab. He mixes up his shots really well to the head and to the body. He's got high and low kicks. He's got the height and reach advantage over Joe Solecki, so that is something to note. I think Aliev has every aspect of this fight covered, in the sense that he's better in the striking department, I believe, over Joe Solecki. I think in the grappling department it's close, but I still think that he's a better, stronger fighter than Joe Solecki in the grappling department, and I think that it's going to show. I really do. I think that he's going to beat Joe Solecki, who is coming off of a loss to Dawson, where he got absolutely dominated on the floor. Absolutely dominated by Grant Dawson on the floor. Then a knockout loss to Drakkar Klose. And he has a few wins over Carl Deaton, Alex De Silva, which were pretty good. But again, he's going up against somebody that is just so much better skill-wise than him. And it's going to show. Joe Solecki's good grappler. He's a decent striker. But like I said, Aliev is going to be too much. And that's why I'm going with the Tajik Eagle to beat him. And let's go ahead and look at the odds on this first fight here, in which Joseph Solecki sitting at a plus 350, as you guys can see. Aliev sitting at a negative 450, so fans definitely think that Aliev is going to win, and I'm right there with the fans. I think Aliev beats Joseph Solecki, and I think he does it dominantly. I really do. I think this goes to the cards, and I think it's going to be 30-27 for Aliev. And the over 2.5 sitting at a negative 310, under 2.5 sitting at a plus 250. Give me Aliev and the over. I think this hits the cards. And let's run it to the next fight on this card in Victoria Dudakova versus Fatima Kline. And this is an interesting one because the odds are very, very wide, which I'll get to in a second. But I am going with Fatima Kline to beat Victoria Dudakova. She is coming off of a loss to Jasmine Jasudavicius in her UFC debut, which is actually insane, to be completely honest. Jasmine Jasudavicius is no slouch, no bum. She's a very, very good, well-rounded fighter. And she also has the win over Andressa Romero over in CFFC. And she looked good over there, too. She had good striking. She mixes up her shots really well. She's got a decent jab. She's got some nice kicks to mix in her shots. She's got good grappling. I think that's where she kind of shines. She's got solid takedowns. She maintains control of you when she gets you down. She's got quick transitions. She's got the height and reach advantage over Victoria Dudakova. As you guys can see, a 1-inch height advantage and a 1/2-inch reach advantage. I think that Fatima Kline is going to get it done. Victoria Dudakova is coming off of a loss to Sam Hughes, who is a kind of mediocre fighter, to be completely honest. Not only that, she was looking slow and tired and gassed in the later rounds of that fight. So I feel like that is something that you definitely want to note, is that she starts to slow down and tire out as the rounds go on. And I think it's going to favor Fatima Kline as this fight goes longer. Victoria, don't get me wrong, is a good striker with a stiff, quick jab. She mixes up her shots fairly well as well. I mean, she's a very good striker, to be completely honest. She's accurate. She's precise. She's got decent grappling and relatively good takedown defense. I will give her that. So it's going to be interesting to see if Fatima Kline can take this down to the ground, where I think she'll have the advantage if she can. And that's why I'm going with Fatima Kline. I believe that she will be able to get the takedowns. I think that she's going to be able to enter and exit the pocket against Victoria Dudakova, who is a good striker. But again, I think Fatima's going to be quicker. I think she's going to be able to move her head off the center line a lot more than Dudakova, and be able to find those strikes, land them, and mix in those takedowns as well with her striking. So give me Fatima Kline to beat Victoria Dudakova. And let's look at the odds here. And Fatima Kline sitting at a negative 950, which is absolutely fucking ridiculous. I'm going to be completely honest. Absolutely ridiculous. She should not be a negative 950. Victoria Dudakova sitting at a plus 650. I think these odds are super, super wide, and I think they are really, really ridiculous. I am not even going to touch this fight, to be completely honest. I do think Kline wins, but if I'm going to be honest, I would even sprinkle some on Dudakova myself at plus 650 is insane for any chick fight. These two are relatively untested on both sides, so to be that wide of an odd is, again, insane. Give me Kline to beat Dudakova. I think that this hits the cards, and the over 2.5 sitting at a negative 240, under 2.5 sitting at a plus 190. I think this hits the cards, and I think it's Kline getting the decision win. And let's run it up to the next fight on this card in Magomed Gadzhiyasulov versus Bruno Lopes. And in this one, I am going with Magomed over Bruno Lopes. I think Magomed is a more technical fighter. Not only that, he's coming off of a dominant win over Brennison Ribeiro and Jose Medina, whereas Bruno Lopes actually lost to Brennison Ribeiro viciously by knockout. Viciously. And I think that Magomed is a patient, more technical fighter over Bruno Lopes. Like I said, he's got great striking. He likes to strike from the outside. He's a good counter puncher. He's got a quick, stiff jab to kind of maintain that distance, kind of keep his opponents at bay and keep them on the outside, which will help him because he likes to strike from the outside. He's also got solid grappling to fall back on. If he has any trouble with his opponents in the striking department, he has great fight IQ in the sense that he will go to the grappling. He doesn't care what the fans think. He's there to win. He's got phenomenal fight IQ. He's got solid takedowns. He lacks in the knockout power, I will say that. He's got enough to sting you and be like, oh shit, like back you off, but doesn't really have that knockout power to put you on your butt. But he's also got the reach and grappling advantage, so that's why I'm going with Magomed Gadzhiyasulov. And Bruno Lopes is a good fighter. He's no bum, no slouch. He's coming off of a knockout win over Mikhail Saziani, where he looked phenomenal there. He got him out of there with punches to the body in his Contender Series debut. He also has the win over Marcos Burgago via submission. Looked phenomenal doing that. And he's a relatively good striker with knockout power, like I said. Mixes up his shots very, very well to the head and to the body, to be completely honest. He's got nasty hooks. I honestly want to say in the kind of red zone, the close area, I want to give it to Bruno Lopes. But in the yellow to green area, like the further distances, medium to further distance, I'm going to give it to Magomed. But close distance, I'm going to say Bruno Lopes has the power and the hooks to really dominate. So I think that Magomed really needs to stay on the outside, kind of tag, kind of keep Bruno Lopes at bay, if you will. Maintain that distance and pepper him with shots, not let him get on the inside. And if he does get in on the inside, shoot for a takedown, kind of eliminate that the power and the striking aspect of it on the inside. And I think that's how Magomed's going to win. I really do. I think that Bruno Lopes doesn't have the best ground game, to be completely honest. He kind of lacks head movement as well. So I'm going with Magomed Gadzhiyasulov to beat Bruno Lopes. And let's look at the odds here, in which Magomed sitting at a negative 222 and Bruno Lopes sitting at a plus 187. I like Magomed. I think he's more patient. I think he's more calculated. He's more technical of a fighter over Bruno Lopes, who kind of gets a little bit looping in his shots. And that's why I'm going with Magomed. Over 2.5 sitting at a plus 130. Under 2.5 sitting at a negative 160. I could see this going over. Magomed is more likely to win this in decision. Bruno Lopes is more... I gotta say, Bruno Lopes would have to win this by knockout. I think he would have to win it by knockout, and I don't see it happening. I think Magomed keeps him on the outside. I think he outstrikes him. And if he tries to close the distance, I think Magomed finds success in taking him down, garnering that control time, and winning it in decision. Give me Magomed over Bruno Lopes via decision. And let's go ahead and move it to the next fight on this card in Ernesta Kareckaite versus Nicolle Caliari. And in this one, I was going back and forth between these two because both of these girls are relatively not proven, unproven, to be completely honest. And I am going to go ahead and go with Nicolle Caliari, but take it with a grain of salt because I do think that Ernesta is still very, very live to win this, to be completely honest. I think that Caliari is coming off of 3 submission finishes where she looked phenomenal. Corinne Laframboise in her UFC Contender Series debut, the win over Nicolle, then the win over Jimenez, and she looked good in every single one. She's got phenomenal grappling abilities. She's got strong takedowns. She maintains control of you when she gets you down. She's got quick transitions. She's got tricky submissions. I mean, she's really, really well versed in the grappling department. In the striking department, she can be a little bit awkward on the feet at times, but she's relatively good in the striking department. She's got a stiff jab. She has quick, clean combinations. I think that she could get it done against Ernesta, who is a really good kickboxer, who is coming off of a loss to Diane Barbosa, who is a good fighter. No knock on her. She's a good fighter as well. And a win over Carly Judas, where she looked phenomenal in her Contender Series debut. I think that Ernesta, yes, has good striking, and that's going to be where she kind of shines. I'll give her the advantage in the striking department, but I think that Caliari will be able to keep up with the striking of Ernesta, and not only that, fare even better in the grappling department, mixing in those takedowns with her striking and finding success in garnering those control time as she gets those takedowns with her striking. I really do think that Caliari is going to be able to mix it up very, very well with her striking and her grappling and be able to find success and take down Ernesta. Because I think as Ernesta gets down to the ground, she's going to struggle to kind of get back up to her feet. She kind of lacks in the grappling department. She has all right takedown defense. She does have a huge height and reach advantage that I do want to bring up. As you guys can see, she has a huge height advantage, 6-inch height advantage, huge reach advantage, almost 10-inch reach advantage. I mean, she's got a huge advantage in terms of height and reach. And she kind of has a striking advantage, but I think that Caliari is going to be able to close that distance, be able to land takedowns, be able to garner that control time, like I said, and win a very, very close fight. And let's go ahead and throw it to the odds on this fight, in which Ernesta is sitting at a negative 260, Nicolle Caliari sitting at a plus 220. I respect the odds. The odds are good. I think that Caliari is going to be able to pull off this upset. I really do. I think that she's going to use her grappling advantage fully and take down Ernesta. I really do. I think that she's going to mix in her striking, get those single leg, double legs, take down Ernesta, maintain control, garner that control time, and win it via decision. Over 2.5 sitting at a negative 240. Under 2.5 sitting at a plus 190. I'm going with the over 2.5, and I'm taking Nicolle Caliari via decision. I think that it's going to be a very, very, very close fought battle, but I think that Caliari can definitely pull it off here. And let's go ahead and run it up to the next fight in Preston Parsons versus Jacobe Smith. And in this one, I am going with Jacobe Smith, even though he is taking this on super short notice. Again, we have another person taking a fight on short notice on this card. And I am going with him. Again, I'm going with Jacobe Smith, who is coming off of his Contender Series debut where he knocked out Christian Savoy and looked phenomenal doing so. He is a very well-rounded fighter, a great up-and-coming prospect with great striking, clean, quick combination, mixes up his head, shots to the head and to the body very well. He's got good high and low kicks, nasty hooks, but not only that, he's got solid grappling. He's got strong takedowns, quick transitions. I believe he's going to have the speed and the wrestling advantage here against Preston Parsons. And not only that, he has the height and reach advantage over Preston Parsons as well. I am going with Jacobe Smith. I really believe that he is the all-around better fighter over Preston Parsons, who is coming off of a loss to Oban Elliott and the win over Matthew Semselberger, who isn't even in the UFC anymore because he is as mediocre as they come. Then the loss to Trevin Giles and the win over Evan Elder. He's a very inconsistent fighter. As soon as he goes up against relatively good fighters, he loses. And this is a case where he's going up against somebody who is a relatively good fighter, an up-and-coming prospect that is on the rise in Jacobe Smith. So I got to go with Jacobe Smith. Though I do want to say this. I want to bring this up. Jacobe Smith, in his last fight, did have a little bit of trouble with his cardio, so that is something to watch as this fight goes on. It could favor Preston Parsons, but I am still going with Jacobe Smith. I think that he's more explosive. I think that he's got the speed and grappling advantage. Give me Jacobe Smith over Preston Parsons. And let's look at the odds here, in which we have Preston Parsons sitting at a plus 275. Jacobe Smith sitting at a negative 350. I like Jacobe Smith. I think that he beats Preston Parsons. I think that he could honestly even deliver a finish over Preston Parsons. He's got some nasty, nasty power. And let's look at the overs in rounds. Over 1.5 sitting at a negative 175. Under 1.5 sitting at a plus 145. I would probably go under 2.5. I honestly think that Jacobe Smith could end Preston Parsons. I think that he could end him via knockout. That is my call. I think Jacobe Smith knocks out Preston Parsons. And let's run it to the next fight on this card in Thiago Moises versus Trey Ogden. And in this one, I've been going back and forth with who to pick on this one. They are both great fighters, but I am going with Trey Ogden. He is coming off of a 2-fight win streak over Loik Razabov and Kurt Hollaball, where he looked good in both of these fights. He looked good in the striking aspect. He looked good in the grappling aspect. He's a very well-rounded fighter, to be completely honest with you. He's a good striker with a long, stiff jab. He's got knockout power. He's got nasty hooks to go along with that knockout power. Solid grappler with good takedown defense. He's got good transitions. He's got tricky submissions. And not only that, he's got a height and reach advantage over Thiago Moises. As you guys can see, 2-inch height advantage, 1.5-inch reach advantage. I think that Trey Ogden is going to be able to close the distance, be able to outstrike Thiago Moises. I also think that he could go to the grappling if he has any troubles in the striking, even though I don't think he will have any trouble in the striking department. Thiago Moises is a pretty well-rounded fighter as well. He's coming off of a loss to Ludovic Kline, which is a very good fighter. I'm going to be completely honest. Ludovic Kline is no bum. He's a very well-rounded fighter that is very good. And a knockout win over Mitch Ramirez, where he looked phenomenal with his leg kicks. That is something about Thiago Moises that if he wants to win this fight, he needs to use those leg kicks of his, because he has really good high and low kicks. Not only that, he's got good striking. He's got the knockout power. He mixes it up to the head and to the body very well with solid grappling. So I think that this is going to be a very, very good fight in terms of the fact that they're pretty even in every department, to be completely honest. I think Trey Ogden will still be better in striking and grappling. I still think that he will be better. So I'm going with Trey Ogden over Thiago Moises, but I think this is going to be a very back and forth close battle in which Trey Ogden takes it. And let's look at the odds on this fight, in which Trey Ogden sitting at a plus 165, Thiago Moises sitting at a negative 190. I like Trey Ogden. I really do. At plus money, I think that these two are very closely matched, and I think that is going to be a very tit-for-tat type of fight, and I think Trey Ogden can pull off the W over Thiago Moises. I really do. Give me Trey Ogden over Thiago Moises. And let's look at the rounds here. Over 2.5 sitting at a negative 260. Under 2.5 sitting at a plus 200. I'm going with the over. I think that Trey Ogden wins this via decision. And I think that he gets the better of Thiago Moises in a very tit-for-tat close fight. And let's run it up to the next fight on this card in Marco Tulio versus Ihor Potieria. And this is another interesting matchup because we have Marco Tulio, who I am actually picking over Ihor Potieria, who is relatively unproven as well, to be completely honest, because he's got one fight where he had a great fight over Matheus Duclos, knocking him out. Then he had a great fight over Seme Dos Santos, knocking him out. And then the previous contender series where he had a fight over Belgari, but didn't get the contract because he kind of looked slow and dull towards the end of the round. He was having a little bit of cardio issues, which is something I do want to note in this fight to be careful of, because I do think that as this fight goes on, it could possibly favor Potieria, though I am going with Marco Tulio because I think that in the earlier rounds 1 and 2, Marco Tulio is somebody to be fucking terrified of. He's got nasty hooks. He's a very well-rounded fighter with knockout power, with a long, stiff jab to maintain that distance, keep you at bay, and use that knockout power to find your chin. He's got good high and low kicks. He's a solid grappler if he needs to toss it back on the grappling if he's having any trouble in the striking department. He's strong in the clinch. He's got very good takedown defense. He does tend to slow down in the later rounds, which we saw against Belgari, like I was just saying. But something I do want to know is he does have the power and striking advantage, I believe, over Ihor Potieria. I think he definitely has the knockout power to put Ihor Potieria down, and I really do think Marco Tulio will knock out Potieria. Potieria is no slouch, no bum. He is coming off of multiple losses, one to Cesar Almeida, other one to Michael Pieta, who both of these guys are very well-rounded fighters, very good fighters, very skilled fighters, if you will. So no diss to him. And then the win over Robert Bierzak, the loss to Bellotto, the loss to Olberg. I mean, those are great fighters. Great fighters. And this is another great fighter that he's going up against. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't see Ihor Potieria being able to beat Marco Tulio. The only way I see Potieria being able to beat him is if Tulio slows down, like I said, in the later rounds, and Potieria somehow catches him. That's the only way I see Potieria winning. So give me Marco Tulio to knock out Ihor Potieria. And let's look at the odds here, in which Potieria sitting at a plus 375. Tulio sitting at a negative 500, which I agree with the odds, but I kind of don't at the same time because Tulio is still unproven. He has been winning a lot, yes, but at the same time, when he went the distance with Belgari, he looked awful, he looked slow, he looked dull and flat in the later rounds, so I am interested to see how he fares in the later rounds if this does hit the later rounds. But that being said, round 1, Marco Tulio knocks out Ihor Potieria, or round 2. I think that he finishes him. Over 1.5 sitting at a negative 105. Under 1.5 sitting at a negative 125. I would honestly go under 2.5. I think Tulio knocks out Potieria, and I think it's in round 1 or 2. And let's go ahead and run it to the next fight on this card in Jose Johnson versus Felipe Bunes. I am going with Jose Johnson over Felipe Bunes. Jose Johnson is coming off of a loss to Asu Almabayev, who is a very highly skilled fighter and is climbing the rankings hella fast. So he is a very good fighter, and that's no knock on Jose Johnson to lose that. He won against Chad Halliger via submission, lost to Damon Blackshear via submission. So that is something that I do want to note, is that Jose Johnson, you got to be careful when it comes to the grappling department. I think that he's a decent grappler with strong takedowns and quick transitions, but he kind of lacks a little bit in that department. He's not the very best in terms of grappling. Though he does shine in the striking department, he is a very good striker with a long, stiff jab. He is a very long fighter. He's 6 foot, if I'm not mistaken, and 71.5 inches for his reach. And he's relatively tall for this flyweight division, to be completely honest, but he doesn't use his length in his striking. He likes to be in that red zone, in that very close zone, which I think could favor Felipe, to be completely honest. I think that Jose Johnson would do better staying on the outside, striking from the outside, keeping his opponents at bay because of the fact of how long and tall he is. It'll be a lot harder for them to reach him. But he kind of plays it a little bit dangerous. He likes to be on the inside, likes to strike from the inside, and he's got pretty strong takedowns. I'm going with Jose Johnson. I think that these are both two relatively mediocre fighters. I don't see either one of these fighters making it into the top 5 rank, to be completely honest. But I am going with Jose Johnson over Felipe Bunes. Felipe Bunes is coming off of a knockout loss to Joshua Van, which is really impressive to be coming into the UFC and fighting Joshua Van for your UFC debut, to be completely honest. So that is very impressive, but he did end up losing via knockout. He's a good striker with a stiff jab. He has knockout power. He's got solid high and low kicks with decent grappling abilities, and he's got an all-right takedown defense. I am going with Jose Johnson. I think that his length is going to do him wonders here, and I think that it's going to be able to help propel him to the win here. I think that Jose Johnson wins this via decision. And let's look at the odds here, in which Jose Johnson sitting at a -175, Felipe Bunes sitting at a +150. I think that Jose Johnson wins this via decision, like I said. Over 2.5 sitting at a -145, under 2.5 sitting at a +115. I like the over, and I'm going with Jose Johnson to beat Felipe via decision. And let's go ahead and run it to the next fight on this card in Punhalil Soriano versus Yoros Medic. And I am going with Yoros Medic, who is coming off of a knockout win over Tim Means, a nasty knockout win, and a submission loss to Medeb Orlabai, where you got to take that one with a grain of salt. It's Orlabai, phenomenal grappler with insane strength. So I give him praises on that one. Yoros is a very technical fighter. He's a very patient and calm and calculated fighter, which is why I'm going with him. He's got very good counterpunching abilities, which I think are going to be used here against somebody like Soriano, who likes to rush and likes to be in your face. That's the type of fighter he is. He likes to apply that forward pressure and kind of really try and make you uncomfortable. I don't think that's going to work against Medic here, who is going to be very precise, kind of sit in that pocket, wait, and patiently choose his shots. And I think that is going to do him wonders, to be completely honest. I think him being patient and being very strategic in this fight is what he needs to do to beat Soriano, because Soriano has some insane knockout power and he's got some relatively good hands. Medic, though, does have decent grappling to throw back on if he needs to. He's got strong takedowns. He's got good takedown defense. Not only that, he's got a height advantage and a striking advantage, I believe, against Puniel Soriano. I really do. I think Medic is going to be able to sit back, sit in the pocket, kind of like be patient, kind of pick and choose his shots. And Soriano, who gets a little bit overzealous and kind of overextends at times, could get caught by Yoros as he's overextending, and I see that happening, to be completely honest. I think that Punhil Soriano, who's coming off of a win against Miguel Bazes, who he looked phenomenal against, I'll give him that. He looked good in the striking, the grappling, and in every aspect he looked good in that fight. Not only that, he has the loss to Dustin Stolvis, where he got rear naked choked by, the loss to Roman Kopylov, who he got knocked out by. I think that Kopylov and Yoros have a similar fight style in this fact that they're very patient, very calm, very calculated. They know how to pick and choose their shots very wisely. And I think that that's going to be where Yoros has a clear-cut advantage, which is striking with strategy. And that's why I'm going with Yoros over Puniel Peniel, again, has that knockout power. He throws looping shots. He could land a looping knockout shot, yes. There's always room for a one-punch knockout power, but I just don't see it happening because I think Yurdos, like I said, is too strategic, too smart, and just has way better fight IQ. Give me Medic over Peniel Soriano. And let's look at the odds here on this fight, in which Medic sitting at a -210, Soriano sitting at a +180. I like Medic. I think that he's going to get it done. I think that he's too calm, too patient, too calculated, and I think that he could end it via knockout, to be completely honest. Over 1.5 sitting at a -156, under 1.5 sitting at a +126. I think that Yurdos Medic ends this early on Soriano. I think that he knocks him out. And let's go ahead and throw it to the next fight on this card, which is a banger in Austin Bashi versus Christian Rodriguez. I think this is a phenomenal fight, to be completely honest. You have Christian Rodriguez, who took the O of Raul Rojas a while back. And now he's looking to take the O of Austin Bashi, who is also a very well-known grappler. And I think that he's actually better than Raul Rojas Jr., and I don't see Christian Rodriguez beating Austin Bashi, to be completely honest. I think Bashi is too good. I think Bashi is good in every aspect of the fight game. He is coming off of a submission win over Dorian Ramos in his UFC Contender debut. He has the win over Zach Riley via knockout, the win over Askar via submission. He has a lot of finishes, and he even delivered in his debut. And I think he's going to deliver here against Christian Rodriguez. I really do. You have Austin Bashi, up-and-coming prospect with great grappling abilities. He's got quick transitions, strong takedowns, maintains control of you when he gets you down. He's got tricky submissions. You are not going to be able to do anything with this guy on the ground. He will control you. He will make you uncomfortable. He will not let you do shit. So I got to go with Austin Bashi. Not only that, he's got great striking to back it up. He mixes up his shots very well. He's got the knockout power. He's got solid high and low kicks. He's got the grappling and strength advantage. I am going with Austin Bashi to beat Christian Rodriguez, but Christian Rodriguez is no slouch and no bum. He has been going up against some very well versed fighters in this fight game. He's coming off of the submission loss to Julian Erosa, who is a very good fighter with 29-11. And then Isaac Dogarian, where he took his O. Then you have Cameron Simon, took his O. Then you have Raul Rojas, took his O. And he's known for taking guys' O's, but I just don't think he's going to be able to take Austin Bashi's O, to be completely honest. Yes, Christian Rodriguez is a solid striker with good counterpunching abilities, with quick, clean combinations. He's got decent kicks. He's got all right grappling abilities with decent takedown defense. He's got a reach and height advantage over Austin Bashi that I do want to bring up. But I just think that Austin Bashi is going to be too much. He's got very good grappling abilities, very good striking abilities. I think that he's just all around better than Christian Rodriguez, and I think that he's going to deliver a phenomenal performance here. And let's look at the odds here, in which Austin Bashi is sitting at a -300. You have Christian Rodriguez sitting at a +250. I like Austin Bashi. Like I said, he's better in every aspect of the fight game over Christian Rodriguez, who is known to take people's O's. But I don't think it's going to be enough this time. Over 2.5 sitting at a -241. Under 2.5 sitting at a +191. I'm going with... I want to say over, but at the same time, I think Austin Bashi could end this early. I'm going with over. I'm going to say Austin Bashi wins it via decision. I think that Christian Rodriguez is a tough and durable enough fighter to last. And I think that it'll be Austin Bashi via decision or submission. But I'm going to go with decision. And let's run it up to the next banger fight on this card in Chris Curtis versus Roman Kopylov. And I was going back and forth on this one, man. This one is a hard one to pick because Chris Curtis has been looking phenomenal lately. He's coming off of the loss to Brendan Allen, which many people think it could have gone either way, to be completely honest. I agree, it could have gone either way. And then we have Roman Kopylov coming off of the win against Cesar Almeida, where he looked phenomenal in that fight. I'm going with Roman Kopylov over Chris Curtis. Roman Kopylov, like I said, coming off of the win over Cesar Almeida. He lost to Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, who is a phenomenal fighter and up in the ranks, climbing them very, very quickly. Then the win over Josh Frem via knockout. The win over Claudia Ribeiro, knockout. Knockout over Sorian. So Roman Kopylov has some very good striking. He's got a long, stiff jab. He's got knockout power, as we can see. He likes to strike from distance. He likes to mix it up to the head and to the body very well. He's got those kicks to use from the outside as well, high and low. And he's got good grappling if he needs to throw it back into the grappling department if he has any trouble with the striking department against Chris Curtis. He's got strong takedowns. He's got good transitions. He maintains control of you when he gets you down. I gotta go with Roman Kopylov over Chris Curtis. I don't think Chris Curtis is a bomb or anything. I think that this is going to be a phenomenal fight, maybe even fight of the night, but I gotta go with Kopylov. I think that grappling wise, I gotta say Roman Kopylov has the grappling advantage. I think that on the striking, I think it's going to be fairly close between these two. I think that Roman Kopylov's kicks are going to have to be used. That's going to be a key factor in this fight for sure. Not only that, Roman Kopylov is going to be a lot better if he learns to maintain that distance, not let Chris Curtis close the distance, which Chris Curtis is very good at closing that distance. But Roman Kopylov is going to be my pick. Chris Curtis is a very good fighter with knockout power. Like I said, he's very good at closing the distance. He's got pretty solid grappling with good takedown defense, though he is injury prone. That is something to note. He got the hamstring injury against Brandon Allen. He had a foot fracture when he was supposed to fight Kevin Holland. He is a little bit injury prone. He's got the inside boxing and the reach advantage. I will give Chris Curtis that, but I think that Roman Kopylov has the grappling advantage and has the outside striking advantage, to be completely honest. I think that Roman Kopylov will keep Chris Curtis at bay, keep him at distance, outstrike him, outpoint him, and beat him. And if he has to, he will take him down and garner that control time if he needs to. And let's go ahead and throw it to the fight odds, in which Roman Kopylov sitting at a negative 252. Chris Curtis sitting at a plus 212. I like Kopylov. I think that striking-wise, it's going to be fairly close between these two. I think outside striking goes to Roman Kopylov. Inside striking goes to Chris Curtis. Grappling goes to Kopylov, so that's why I'm going with Kopylov. I think he gets it done in a very tit-for-tat close fight, in which could be fight of the night, to be completely honest. The over 2.5 sitting at a negative 200. Under 2.5 sitting at a plus 160. I'm going with the over 2.5, and I'm taking Roman Kopylov via decision. And let's go ahead and run it to the next fight on this card in Abdul Razak Alhassan versus Cesar Almeida. And I am going with Cesar Almeida over Abdul Razak Alhassan because of one fact. Cesar Almeida is a lot more technical of a fighter over Alhassan. Alhassan is more of a powerhouse brawler, to be completely honest. You have Cesar Almeida, who's coming off of the win, over Iho Poteria, the loss to Roman Kopylov, who we just talked about, and the win over Dylan Budka, where he knocked him out. Phenomenal fights as of lately from Cesar Almeida, other than the Kopylov fight. He's a very technical fighter, like I said, with great striking abilities, knockout power. He's also got very good counter striking abilities. That is something I do want to note. With a long, stiff jab, he mixes up his shots very, very well to the head and to the body. Very precise striker, like I said. So that is something you want to definitely keep in mind. I think striking advantage has to go to Cesar Almeida. He's got decent grappling abilities with all right takedown defense. Reach and height advantage, along with striking advantage, go to Cesar Almeida, I believe. I really think that he's definitely got the striking advantage. Obviously, we know he has the reach and height advantage. You can't argue that. And then we have, on the other side, we have Abdul Razak Alhassan, who's coming off of the no contest against Cody Brundage, the submission loss to Joe Pyfer, the knockout win over Claudio Ribeiro. He hasn't been having the best fights as of lately because of the fact that he's just very wild and chaotic, to be completely honest. He's got great power, but he sucks at setting up his combinations. He sucks at just landing, to be completely honest. He just throws very looping shots that his opponents can see from a mile away. You'd have to get lucky to throw one of those looping shots and land it flush on the chin of his opponent, to be completely honest. That's why I am going with Cesar Almeida. Abdul is very, very powerful, but sucks at putting himself in positions to use his power to his best abilities. He's got decent grappling abilities, so he can't really throw it back to that, to be completely honest, because I don't think that he's going to out-grapple Cesar Almeida. I think that Abdul Razak Alhassan is in for a rude awakening, and I think that Cesar Almeida is going to knock him out, to be completely honest. I don't see Alhassan landing a looping wild shot on somebody like Cesar Almeida, who is very technical and very, very calm and patient and can see it coming from a mile away, like I said. Give me Cesar Almeida over Abdul Alhassan. And let's look at the odds here, in which Cesar Almeida is sitting at a negative 275, which I agree with. Abdul Razak Alhassan is sitting at a plus 235. Got to go with Cesar Almeida. He's the more technical fighter. He's more patient. He's more calm. He's more calculated. And he's got the knockout power to go along with it. Over 1.5 sitting at a negative 170. Under 1.5 sitting at a plus 140. I like the under. I think Almeida finds Alhassan's chin, and I think he knocks him out, to be completely honest. And let's run it up to the co-main event of the evening in Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Carlston Harris. And in this one, I am going with Santiago Ponzinibbio, to be completely honest. Yes, Ponzinibbio is coming off of the multiple losses to Salikov and the knockout loss to Kevin Holland, but I think that he could get it done here against Carlston Harris. I really do. I think Ponzinibbio is a good striker with knockout power. He's got a long, stiff jab. He's got strong low and high kicks. He's got decent grappling if he needs to throw it back on, with strong takedowns and relatively good takedown defense. I am going with Ponzinibbio. I think that Carlston Harris, though coming off of a loss to Chaos Williams and a submission win to Jeremiah Wells, he just looks awkward and clunky on the feet. He just looks slow. He looks dull. He just doesn't look like he has it all there in terms of on the feet, which is weird, seeing that Ponzinibbio is a little bit older and should be slower in the books. But no, he's not. I think that Carlston Harris is slower. I think he's got a slow, stiff jab with decent striking abilities, with also decent grappling abilities. Has all right takedown defense. He's a little bit chinny. I really think that all Carlston Harris has is a reach advantage, to be completely honest. I think that Santiago Ponzinibbio is better in the striking aspect. In the grappling aspect, I think that they're relatively close in that aspect. And I got to go with Santiago Ponzinibbio over Carlston Harris. I think that he's quicker. I think he's going to have the speed advantage. I think he's not going to look as awkward and clunky on the feet as Carlston. And I think that Carlston Harris is going to get beat by Santiago Ponzinibbio. And let's look at the odds on this fight. Santiago sitting at a negative 123. Carlston sitting at a plus 103. So relatively close in terms of odds. Basically almost a coin flip, if you will. I am going with Ponzinibbio. I think that he's going to have the striking advantage for sure. I think that Carlston looks awkward and clunky on the feet, and I think that that's where he's going to take this, is on the feet. And if he has any trouble, he will throw it back to the grappling abilities. And I'm going with Santiago Ponzinibbio via decision. Over 2.5 sitting at a negative 130. Under 2.5 sitting at a plus 100. I think this goes to the distance. I think that these are both pretty relatively good fighters, and I think that Ponzinibbio gets the better of Carlston Harris. And let's run it to the main event of the evening. If you guys haven't, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button, and let's run it up to the main event, in which we have Mackenzie Dern versus Amanda Ribas. And this is actually a rematch in which Amanda Ribas got the better of Mackenzie Dern the first time. And I think that, again, she's going to get the better of Mackenzie Dern this second time around. I think that Amanda Ribas has, although you look at her stats and it's loss-win, she looks a little bit inconsistent. That is not true. She has been going up in weight class, down. That's the reason why you see this. She went up in weight class, fought Rose Namajunas, lost that. Had the battle up against Luana Pinheiro, where she looked phenomenal in this same 115. Looked absolutely phenomenal and dominant. Then lost to Macy Barber, then won against Vivian Araujo, and then lost to Caitlin Seminara. I mean, I'm going to be completely honest. The skill-wise, I got to go with Amanda Ribas. I think that also her opponents have been a lot better and more difficult than Mackenzie Dern, who went up against Godinez, Lupita. Went up against Amanda Lemos, lost. Went up against Andrade, got knocked out. Won against Angela Hill, my apologies. And then lost to Xiaonan Yan. Jesus. I'm going with Amanda Ribas. I think that in terms of striking-wise, I think that Amanda Ribas has the striking advantage. I think she's more precise of a striker over Mackenzie Dern. Also, she has cleaner counter-striking abilities than Mackenzie Dern. I think that she's going to be able to outstrike Mackenzie Dern, pick her apart. I think that with her reach advantage, she will be able to maintain that distance, keep her at bay, outstrike her, pick her apart, like I said, maybe even mix in some takedowns if she needs to, and garner some control time. Yes, Mackenzie Dern, I will say, has quicker transitions, has, I will say, better grappling abilities, and has the height advantage, but I just don't think that Mackenzie Dern is going to be able to beat Amanda Ribas. I think this is going to be a repeat of last time, and I think that Amanda Ribas will beat her via decision, and I think that it's going to be 3-2 Amanda Ribas, to be completely honest. Maybe even 4-1 Amanda Ribas. I don't see Mackenzie Dern beating her. I think that she's quicker than Mackenzie Dern. I think striking-wise, she has a striking advantage. She's a lot cleaner and quicker with the hands. She's got better combinations. I'm going with Amanda Ribas. And let's go ahead and look at the odds on this fight, in which Mackenzie Dern sitting at a plus 170, Amanda Ribas sitting at a negative 200. I like Amanda Ribas. I think that she gets it done, and I think that she does it in dominant fashion. I think that she beats Mackenzie Dern via decision, and I think it's 4-1 or 3-2 Amanda Ribas easily. Over 4.5 sitting at a negative 201. Under 4.5 sitting at a plus 161. I got to go with the over. I think Amanda Ribas wins this via decision, and I think she does it dominantly. And if you guys haven't, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace!